I'm Christopher German for KCTV News for Wednesday, October 30th, 2025. For tonight's broadcast, the stories we're following for you. A majority of judges on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has voted to temporarily halt the deployment of National Guard to Portland, Oregon. And Oregon was recently identified as one of the least favorable places to find a job, ranking 46th out of 50 states on WalletHub's list. And as Halloween approaches, the weather across the region promises a chilly start, followed by a dry day before a new storm system arrives over the weekend. Now make sure you tune in every morning for weather from the Skywatch Weather Center, with weather from the Klamath Basin for the Klamath Basin. And tonight's news is brought to you by...
We wish you a reggae Christmas.
Christmas is here at Pinky's of Klamath Falls. We have everything for that hard-to-shop-for person on your list, from clothing to artwork to smoking accessories. We carry it all. And stop in today and you'll get 20% off your purchase and a free $5 t-shirt. 'Tis the season for giving, and everything you need is at Pinky's of Klamath Falls.
You're welcome, Sizzler and Shabba. You're welcome to the...
Well, our top story. A majority of judges on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has voted to temporarily halt the deployment of the National Guard to Portland, Oregon, agreeing to review a decision made by two of their peers that had greenlighted the action. The court granted the state of Oregon an en banc or full court review of the October 20th order from the two judges, Ryan Nelson and Bridget Bade, both appointees of President Donald Trump. That earlier ruling had overturned a lower court order which had been blocking the president from deploying National Guard troops to the city. The decision means the troop deployment will not occur until the full court review is complete, a process that typically takes several weeks or more. At least 15 of the 29 judges on the appeals court voted to grant the review, which is an extremely rare occurrence, typically granted to only 1 to 3 cases per year among the hundreds of Ninth Circuit court handles. Willamette University professor and constitutional law expert Norman Williams noted that when a majority of judges agree to review a case, it often leads to a reversal of the similar panel's original decision, suggesting a clear issue may exist. The latest development arrives just before the scheduled start of the 3-day trial in the state's expedited court case against President Trump. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. It's possible the presiding judge will delay the trial until the appeals court completes its review. Oregon's Attorney General Dan Rayfield welcomed the news, stating the court is sending a clear message. He added that the ruling shows that the truth matters and that the courts are working to hold this administration accountable, emphasizing that the Constitution limits the president's power. 11 judges, including the Chief Judge Mary Helen Maguire, an Obama appointee, will undertake the review. Supporting Oregon's petition were briefs submitted by Attorney General from Arizona, California, Hawaii, Nevada, and Washington, along with the American Civil Liberties Union. The main reason for seeking a fuller review is the argument that the two-judge panel misapplied precedent set by earlier court decisions. Specifically, the review panel will examine whether Judges Bade and Nelson correctly applied the precedent from Newsom v. Trump, a similar case decided months earlier involving the deployment of California National Guard troops to protect federal property in Los Angeles. While the Newsom case granted the president a great level of deference in deploying Guard troops, it also established standards that Oregon's lawyers argue were disregarded in the Portland decision, including temporal and geographic limitations. Oregon's lawyers contend that Judges Bade and Nelson improperly justified the Portland deployment based on heightened protests and that occurred months earlier in June and July by citing attacks on ICE buildings in Los Angeles and Dallas. The judges in the California case also affirmed that the Guard deployment requires more than minimal interference with federal functions. Oregon's lawyers argue that the sporadic, small, and largely First Amendment protected protest activity outside the Portland ICE facility was not enough to justify the deployment, especially since local law enforcement had handled unlawful conduct. Oregon's lawyers also accused the two judges of deferring entirely to federal lawyers' claims about threats to property and officials, disregarding a lower court judge's determination that there was no active rebellion. In fact, Oregon's lawyers recently found evidence suggesting federal lawyers overstated the law enforcement needs at the Portland ICE facility during the summer. Oregon's lawyers wrote in their petition that if the circumstances in Portland justify federalizing the National Guard, then almost anything would, presenting an opportunity for the full court to resolve conflicts of law and decide whether such a federalization order can ever be subject to meaningful judicial review. And Governor Tina Kotek has directed $5 million in state funds to Oregon's food bank network and declared a 60-day food security emergency as the state braces for a potential cutoff of Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, program benefits. The federal funding for the SNAP program, which assists more than 750,000 Oregonians, is expected to lapse at the start of November due to ongoing federal government shutdown. Governor Kotek's executive order is channeling unspent temporary assistance for needy families, TANF funding, to food banks to help them manage an anticipated surge in demand for emergency food assistance. Oregon is one of the states that has joined a multi-state lawsuit urging the U.S. Department of Agriculture to use contingency funds to prevent the disruption of SNAP benefits nationwide. State officials and food bank networks acknowledged that while the $5 million in state aid is a critical short-term measure, no food bank system can fully replace the assistance provided by SNAP. And the Trump administration's policy proposals concerning the cattle industry have placed the work of ranchers, including those here in Oregon, in the national spotlight, drawing both outrage and skepticism from industry groups. The first proposal, which has caused national headlines and pushback from the U.S. cattle industry groups, involves importing beef from Argentina to lower prices for grocery store consumers. The United States Cattlemen's Association President Justin Tupper stated, "We oppose this kind of government intervention in the marketplace and will continue to defend ranchers from this action," arguing the idea is misguided and would undercut American cattle ranchers. The president of the Oregon Cattlemen's Association, Matt McGilligot, shared this concern, noting that the policy could make it harder for young ranchers to turn a profit. The second proposal is the administration's 13-page plan to support domestic cattle ranchers, which seeks to open more public lands to cattle ranching and includes Endangered Species Act reforms. The USDA plan calls for opening up more than 24 million acres of vacant grazing allotments managed by the Bureau of Land Management and the U.S. Forest Service across the western United States. It also proposes to streamline and expand the permitting process for grazing on public lands by bypassing environmental review regulations. Additionally, the plan includes new predator compensation standards to pay producers for livestock lost to wolves, coyotes, and other predators. The Oregon Cattlemen's Association expressed initial skepticism about government intervention in the market, but upon review saw some good stuff in there. McGillicott said that while some lands may not be viable due to being too rocky or steep, the plan would help, and he hoped vacant allotments would be given priority to young and veteran ranchers to help them get into the business. Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum backed the plan, stating that the department is slashing red tape and restoring grazing access on public lands. Wildlife and conservation groups have strongly criticized this plan, arguing it would benefit only a few politically connected producers at the environment's expense. Adam Bronstein of the Western Watershed Project said the plan is a focus on further handouts to public land grazers. He suggests that vacant lands are incredibly important for wildlife and ecosystem health, and that opening them up could damage habitat. He also noted that cattle grazing is disruptive and contributes to the spread of invasive fire-sparking grasses like cheatgrass and Medusa head rye. Bronstein cited a report finding that in Oregon, the BLM had allowed grazing on 5 million acres of federal land that did not meet the state's rangeland health standards, suggesting the agency is already unable to manage active allotments. McGilligot, however, dismissed this view, stating that ranchers would still be required to follow land management rules and that environmental groups are simply adhering to their mantra for advocating for no public land grazing. The simultaneous announcement of these two policies, one seen as potentially undercutting domestic profit and the other offering regulatory relief and land access, has created a complex scenario for American cattle producers. And amid a federal government shutdown, rising costs, and frequent layoff announcements, many individuals are actively seeking new employment. However, job opportunities and conditions varying significantly by state. Oregon was recently identified as one of the least favorable places to find a job, ranking 46th out of 50 states on WalletHub's list. WalletHub's assessment considered both the job market and the economic environment of each state. The job market evaluation included factors such as job opportunities, employment growth, job security, work-related stress, analyzed through tweets, and the availability of internships. The economic environment was assessed using metrics like median annual income, state income tax burdens, the proportion of workers living in poverty, and commute times. Massachusetts emerged as the top state for job seekers, partly due to strong worker protections and robust annual job growth rate of 2.4%, which suggests ample future opportunities. Connecticut served the second position, characterized by low unemployment rate and a healthy average annual growth in job availability, and notably the second lowest share of discouraged workers. Additionally, Connecticut boasts the second lowest income tax burden for individuals earning less than $25,000 annually. In contrast, Oregon performed poorly, ranking last 50th for economic environment. The report also indicated that Oregon had the second highest level of work-related stress among all states evaluated. And Stearns Elementary School has officially opened a new adaptive playground designed specifically for kindergartners and students in special education programs, providing a safe and inclusive play space. The playground, situated in an outdoor courtyard between the school's wings, offers a secure and developmentally appropriate environment for young learners and students with diverse mobility and sensory needs. The initiative began last spring after staff recognized the need for a more accessible and safer alternative to the existing 7-acre playground, which presented supervision and accessibility challenges. Leanna Rickman, Klamath County's school district principal of elementary special education programs, emphasized the goal. We wanted a space that was both safe and inclusive. This new playground gives all students, regardless of their abilities, the chance to play and interact comfortably. Funding for the project included a $50,000 grant from Klamath County Developmental Disabilities Services, with the Klamath County School District covering the remaining expenses. The playground became operational at the start of the 2025-26 school year. Key features of the fenced play area include adaptive swings, a merry-go-round, ramp access to play structures for students with mobility needs, and a colorful sensory wall designed to engage senses and encourage interaction. Access to balls and other playground equipment with space for future additions. The facility serves Stearns kindergarten students and 5 special education classrooms encompassing the Bridges Communications, Behavior and Transition programs, and staff report that the new space not only enhances safety and accessibility, but also significantly improves supervision. Rickman noted, On the larger playground, we used to need to get 4 or 5 staff members to help monitor students. Here, 2 staff can easily supervise 15 to 20 students. It's made a big difference. Located near the school's accessible 200-meter walking track used for physical education and field day activities, the playground serves approximately 70 special education students from kindergarten through 6th grade at Stearns Elementary School. Rickman concluded, "This playground represents what we strive for as a district: inclusion, safety, and fun. Our students love it, and it's been a wonderful time to see them so engaged and happy." And downtown Klamath Falls is getting an early start on the holiday season with Holiday First Look Downtown on Saturday, November 1st, 2025 from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. This event invites the community to experience a cozy evening of shopping, festive drinks, and early holiday cheer as downtown shops pull out all the stops. Attendees can expect beautiful decorations, tasty treats, and abundant holiday inspiration, making it an ideal opportunity to begin the gift hunting or simply treat themselves. The aim is to enjoy the warmth of the downtown community, support local businesses, and create new memories. Friends are encouraged to bundle up and witness downtown Klamath Falls sparkle a little earlier this year, toasting to the season and local favorites. For more information, contact 541-539-6212 or email info@downtownklamathfalls.org. And the upcoming full moon on Wednesday, November 5th, will be the first extreme supermoon since 2018, according to astrologer Richard Knoll, who coined the term supermoon in 1979. It's expected to rise at 6 p.m. in Klamath County. Knoll defines an extreme supermoon as one that is 100% or greater the mean perigee, meaning it's even closer to Earth than a typical supermoon, making it appear slightly bigger and brighter. A supermoon generally refers to a full moon that occurs when the moon is at its perigee, the closest point in its orbit to Earth. While the moon's average distance from the Earth is about 238,855 miles, this distance constantly changes due to its elliptical orbit. It's important to note that the supermoon is not a scientific term. The definition of a supermoon varies among sky watchers. Knoll considers any moon, full or new, that is within 90% of its perigee on a given orbit to be a supermoon. The website Time and Date defines a supermoon as a moon that is less than 360,000 kilometers from Earth. Other definitions are stricter, considering only the single closest full and new moons of the year, and new supermoons, by definition, are invisible and are generally ignored by sky watchers. And as Halloween approaches, it's time for some weather now. The weather across the region promises a chilly start, followed by a dry day, before a new storm system arrives over the weekend. Tonight's forecast: clouds will clear from the west to east early tonight, but are expected to increase again by the middle of the night. There's a good chance of low clouds and fog developing in similar areas by tomorrow morning. For Halloween morning, get ready for a chilly start to Halloween. East side temperatures will drop into the lower 30s and 20s, but the day should remain dry. Clouds will increase, but afternoon temperatures will be a bit more mild after the cold morning. The evening will be cool for trick-or-treaters or those heading out, but no rain is expected. For your Saturday, the next storm system will bring rain to the region. Showers will move inland later in the day, possibly with light showers possible late Saturday in Siskiyou County and on the east side, but these are expected to be minimal. Forecasters are monitoring further chances for wet weather, but the temperatures are currently predicted to remain mild and above average. Well, that's it for us tonight, so tune in and get your views counted only at KCTV, and make sure you hit that subscribe button to KCTV on your favorite platform. And while you're at it, make sure you log on to klamathcommunity.tv for the latest news, weather, lifestyle news, sports, everything that's on that website, including these daily stories posted for you that you'll find exclusively on the KCTV news page. So for KCTV News, I'm Christopher German. You guys have made it down to Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday, Halloween. And I might have a very special Halloween episode of this news. I don't know. I might get a little creative tomorrow. If I don't know. I'm debating whether I should get creative or not. But if you do tune in tomorrow, I think it'll be kind of fun if I do get creative. We'll see what happens. And we have a weekend coming up after that, and we could have a little wet weather on Saturday, but it's not going to dampen our spirits. We don't have a farmer's market anymore. That ended last weekend, and but we do have on November 1st, we have the downtown first look downtown. So go one thing or another. You could sleep in late on Saturday and then go visit downtown Saturday afternoon and evening. Okay. I don't think I have much more than that. So I will see you guys again tomorrow. Tune in. Watch this channel. That is the only way we can truly gauge whether we're valuable to this community, is if you tune in and you drive the views up. It doesn't do any good to view Facebook. Facebook doesn't count. All that is it showed you looked at the post. It doesn't say you saw the news. It doesn't say you watched it. It doesn't say anything. And last night I posted, we had 24 views. 24 views of this news program last night. That's abysmal. And if you don't want this station to continue, just let me know. Send me an email. Say, shut off. We don't need you anymore. Okay? But if you really want this station here, if you really, really indeed enjoy watching the news, you're really indeed watching the weather, you're really indeed watching all the things that we do, because we're trying to provide you with all the information in Klamath County. We're trying to provide you what we can on a very meager budget. I don't have any money to play with. This is not. We're not rolling in cash here. We are barely eking by, and that is the truth. And I don't know what I can do to convince the business community to support this station in any more fashion than I already have. But there you go. So, all right. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. God bless. Good night. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you guys again for Friday. Hopefully it'll be a good Halloween episode. We'll see what happens. Thanks for watching. Good night. Goodbye.